Reminder, if you want to be featured in the Write-In episode later this year, send me an email, a video, whatever. Tell me who you are, your favorite mysteries, anything. If you're familiar with the internet and how culture is discussed on the internet, maybe you've seen one of these. An iceberg infographic, though it's not always an iceberg pictured. They're usually about a topic, and the most basic understanding or appreciation of that topic is represented at the top. But the further down you go, well, things get wild. For example, if the top of the berg for music genres is pop or rock, the bottom is Tibetan throat singing, wall noise, lowercase? If you can't tell, many of these have a satirical, sarcastic bent. Like, you gotta be pretty hardcore and hip to appreciate wall noise. These infographics, they're often just jokes, similar to their simplified counterparts, the expanding brain memes. And I love these icebergs. They can simultaneously be hilarious and introduce you to some weird new thing. Music, conspiracy theories, internet lingo, video games, websites. Some of these have some rough language, so I'm not showing the whole thing. Links below. All broad topics, right? Some are more narrow, like prog rock or Star Wars. When I saw this one, a whole iceberg for the 1996 video game Super Mario 64, I lost my mind. I knew it could be satirical, but even so, what could all these possibly be referring to? Toad projection? Silicone graphics curse? Do not research? Every copy of Mario 64 is personalized. Oh God, what have I gotten myself into? What is it about this game that electrifies our imaginations and in some cases haunts our nightmares? Welcome to Nothing is Revealed. I bet many of you are familiar with this game. Maybe like me, you played it as a kid a few years after its release. But for my younger audience members, let me take you back to 1996.
Check this out! What am I, a monkey?
Games were a lot different then, compared to the 175 gig behemoths we have now.
It's the new Nintendo 64. So what's the big deal, and why is Toys R Us already sold out? We have the answers.
See, back in the days of Nintendo 64, games were jumping a whole dimension, from primarily 2D to 3D. While some struggled, as per Nintendo's pedigree, Mario stuck the landing. This game is a unique masterpiece, often ranked among the best ever, and it paved the way for Mario to continue innovating. I played this so much as a kid, the sounds and sights are forever burned into my brain. Being terrified of the piano, finding a hidden world in a window, all formative memories. This all being said, it's a chunky, polygonal, kinda empty feeling game. That was par for the course. Textures were blurry back then, and with dozens of unique portraits to jump into, how much detail could the developers have possibly added? What's there is already mind-blowing for the time. Ever since the earliest days of gaming media, there were rumors and playground legends surrounding this game. That you could unlock Luigi as a playable character, evidenced by this blurry statue that may or may not have said, "L is real 2041. False. That if you got all 120 stars, you could meet Yoshi on the roof of Peach's castle. True, and he looked rough. Not to mention a dozen other secrets scattered across the game, and we can't forget the glitches. These make up the top level of our iceberg, and sure enough, I knew them all. Enjoy that while it lasts. The Space World 95 beta is also interesting, referring to a demo of the game shown at a Japanese trade show before release. It's almost eerie to see this utterly familiar game look different. And while the source code for the demo has never been released, fans have been trying to reconstruct it themselves based on footage from the event. That's the dedication we're talking about. Before we get to the deeper depths of the iceberg, we have to talk about another Super Mario 64 milestone. One that nearly crossed into mainstream memes and internet culture in 2016, 20 full years after the game's release. Seriously, here they are discussing it on Reply All, one of Gimlet and Spotify's most critically acclaimed podcasts.
So then back to the issue at hand.
Back to the issue at hand, what was it again?
0.5 A presses.
0.5x A presses. First off, I need to talk about parallel universes.
All right, I've been looking it up while we've been talking.
You look like you're processing information.
This is so confusing. It has something to do with Super Mario 64.
Really?
Yes.
This video was uploaded to YouTube by glitch exploiter Penencoke 2012 and explains how to get a star in a stage with only one half press of the A button. It's so dense and complex and went viral on 4chan for some of the off-the-planet concepts. In videos of this type, you don't typically hear about building up speed for 12 real-world hours or parallel universes. But by far, the funniest claim is that Penencoke achieved his goal by pressing the A button not once, not 0, but 1/2 times. Another user appeared in the comments, TJ Henry Yoshi. An A press is an A press. You can't say it's only a half, and thus one of the greatest meme rivalries in history was born. So what's the significance of this whole parallel universes meme-plosion? Perhaps nothing. But I'd argue that 20 years later, this reinvigorated the broader internet's interest in discovering the game's secrets, which paved the way for the deeper depths. We don't have time to cover them all. Let's do a rapid fire, starting with the simple and factual. Impossible coin hidden inside the game's geometry. Why? Same for the Goomba. After defeating King Babam, there's an extra cannonball at the start. He's nothing but a big dud now. Dancing flowers, an unused effect that is strangely found in the lethal lava land textures. Mario on Fire smoke texture is literally glitched. It looks like this in the final game, but when you use the correct texture format, it looks like this. ET letters in the pyramid. Why? Please walk quietly in the hallway. Why? Unused model of Blarg, missing textures and behavior. Why? Jolly Roger Bay fog vanishes when you collect a star and never reappears even if you play the same level again. Womp King complains womps are used to build roads and castles. After he's killed, a castle is built where he stood. Wet Dry World Skybox is a modified photograph of Spain. There's something creepy about all the skyboxes. Doors in Wet Dry World may have been reused from the beta of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Wow. In the Japanese debug menu, Hazy Maze Cave is referred to as Horror Dungeon.
But still.
Big Boo's secret laugh. This one might be fake.
Whoa, what the fuck?
Blanked out text between the secret aquarium and castle secret stars that says delicious cake. Whoa! That'll do it for the ones with evidence that I found interesting. Somehow, new things are still being discovered buried in the game's code. But just as Iceberg memes get closer to implausibility, the further you go down, so too does this one devolve into rumors and fiction. Spooky fiction. Though he isn't in the original game at all, if you want Wario to appear badly enough, so he will. This screenshot, often accompanying the theory, is a perfect basis for a creepypasta. I don't know who made it, but it's just blurry and angled enough to seem otherworldly. True, some of these fictional entries are so cringeworthy that they're almost comedy. But one of these at the bottom I find fascinating. Every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized, as in every copy is just a little different. Like yours has that tree a centimeter to the right. In mine, Mario moves a fraction quicker, jumps a smidge higher. And as a result, when I would go to a friend's house and play their copy, it just didn't feel the same. The differences were just big enough for our subconscious minds to pick them up. Impossible, right? But maybe. No, it is impossible. It's empirically falsifiable. We can prove it. Can't we? If you gathered 100 Nintendo 64s and 100 different copies, they'd all play identically, I think. But suppose some were different models of the console, different controllers, different TVs, some cartridges were more beaten up, and a million other factors. Is it possible that we develop such an affinity for the game's mechanics that we could truly detect infinitesimal differences? Or it just feels weird because you haven't played in 15 years and haven't held this boomerang in just as long? Who knows? And thanks for watching. And I was gonna end the video there. You see, I researched and recorded this voiceover nearly 4 months ago, and somehow there have been so many developments in the world of this 20-year-old game. First off, the massive leak. In June of 2020, hackers released a veritable goldmine of private Nintendo data, like the full source code for whole Nintendo 64 games. This one included. Now, this material was obtained illegally. Make no mistake, it's probably illegal to disseminate it at all. But this intimate look at the source code and the game's assets, weirdly, it only fans the flames of all these Iceberg mysteries. It's inspired fans to create new ones, dream bigger, theorize harder. The most significant reveal, in my opinion, concerns this timestamp of the video, when we talked about L is real. Well, hidden in the assets was Luigi, never implemented in the final game, but his model still lives in the code. He's been here all along. Next, the Wario Apparition. I originally had no idea who made this image. I assumed someone did it in 2019 or 2020 and also came up with the creepy story about it. While the story is recent, the image isn't. The actual image originated from Nintendo themselves, from their 1996 E3 panel titled Focused on Fun. And finally, on September 3rd, 2020, this was announced. If you're missing Mario 64 or liked this video and just want to play it for yourself, consider picking this up. I'm sure it will only add to the mythos by feeling, well, a little different. You might even say personalized. Alright, real ending. Shout out to Joe for being the thumbnail boss, and to Joey Vote for his Mario expertise. Check him out on Twitch. And to my wonderful patrons, Dunsfan, Rose, Regina, SWMan3, Darks, B. Wade, Gillian Zermer, and Ben Cushing. And two new patrons, the daring and fierce Dominic Morrow, and generous as ever, Laura Liu of the Lowlands. Thank you, patrons. As always, I'm glad you're here.
Lots of people who play an old video game called Super Mario 64, correct?
Yes.
And they talk about on the internet about how to beat different levels of Super Mario 64. And this one guy talked about beating this one level by doing a half press of the A key.
I would call it a button.
We'll call it a button, yeah.
But that's close.
A half press of the A button.